Andy, your boy's trying to pull it off.
They're trying.
They just scored a touchdown.
They did not really.
They
turned it
did.
off?
Yeah, they just scored Wilson to Williams for 3 yards. Touchdown.
Turned it off.
I love to hear about Russell Wilson throwing touchdowns. That helps me. Does James Cook also have 30 points? Because that's what I need.
No. I could not tell you.
Just go ahead and tell you the answer is no.
I think my chances of winning this week collapsed last night in the Las Vegas Raiders defense not outscoring the Jets defense.
Wow.
In a game that they won. How does that happen?
I mean, there were some weird results yesterday. Look at Christian McCaffrey's touchdown streak ending in a game that they won 34-3.
Yeah, at that point, don't you just feed him the ball after you're up like 16-0?
Yeah, and they did at the end. They got down into the red zone, and for some reason, I don't know if Purdy got hurt. They had to bring in Sam Darnold. The drive fell apart.
That's the end of that.
Also, Denver, why would you go for 2?
To try and seal the game on the road?
Maybe. There's 5 minutes left, though.
Maybe hope you get the ball back?
Yeah? Or your kicker got hurt?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Man.
That's a choice. Anyway.
Sam Howell ended up showing up for my team at the end there in overtime and actually scoring some points and got me within winning a game that I was under 100 points for most of the weekend. And then it all fell apart with the Raiders defense. Also, my desperation play of having to play Taysom Hill in the flex slot did not pan out. So that's my other problem. But I don't know, man. It's hard to take a loss on 25, 20, 13, 23, 18, 8, 4, 6, 5 and be like, yeah, that's a bad score. I lost.
Yeah, it doesn't make all the way sense.
Against a last place team that averages 70 points a week and who scored 132.
Any given Sunday. This was their given Sunday, apparently.
No kidding. Okay.
Were you recording that before? I was like, just throw it in the podcast.
Splice it in.
Yeah, it just feels like it was me ranting, though.
I mean, isn't that the point of the segment?
Yeah, have you listened to those segments before?
Is it just me ranting every time?
No,
I mean,
but it's someone ranting.
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
There was a good chapter that we all have done that we can finally talk about just in time for the next one to show up soon.
you.
God, thanks for the
TC.
reminder, man. Well, then we should start 380 episodes of We Were Gamers by saying, welcome back, Michael. Hello.
Hey, guys. Good to be back.
Off the top, we're going to be off next week. It's Thanksgiving week. And I know at least one of us is traveling. It's a holiday week. Yeah, it's both of us. That was the thing. Yeah. So, just so you know, off the top. There you go. Welcome back. Hey, JJ.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm all right. Good. I will actually be here on Monday, but I won't be here the next day. So
it's all better, I think, for I think every year it's been one of those. We could do it, but should we do it? And it's just, it's okay. Everyone should go on vacation. You know what I mean? Including, I think Rondo needs a vacation, you guys.
He did some heavy lifting.
We're going to talk about Champions of the Continent off the bat, Michael, because you were not here last week. And best chapter of the game so far? Spoilers. Spoilers for the rest of the game. All the game of Champions of the Continent. Spoilers for all the game.
All of them.
Right?
Certainly the story chapters, yeah.
Yeah.
I think JJ and I feel very strongly that it were some of the best so far, but we didn't get your opinion because you were a little behind, and then we missed you last week.
Yeah, and I did manage to catch up in the time in between. So yeah, I think I have to agree with you guys. It wasn't the story beat that I was expecting, given where the last few chapters had gone, but it
Yeah.
was super appreciated and very well put together.
The inevitable betrayal never came.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, curse the not sudden and drawn out inevitable betrayal, but it didn't happen. And so then there's nothing to curse. I was confused. And instead, we were treated to favorite, maybe boss fight in the series thus far? Maybe?
Yeah, we got the hero's trial chapter.
It really reminded me of like when Hearthstone was at its peak and they were trying stuff with those story expansion things, and they're just throwing as many curveballs as they could into the how do we make the card game something other than the card game formula. And this was kind of like their little toe dip into that of like, can we do a fight that's like a different type of fight where maybe they have different victory conditions than just win.
Yeah, it definitely like peak Hearthstone single player card game design stuff here for sure.
That's what it
The League
reminded
of
me of.
Explorers was longer, but this boss fight was cooler even.
Yeah. and you know, character development that isn't just like a surprise or out of left field, that isn't Bargello and the family. I feel like Bargello and the family get lots of character development for everyone there, like because that's their story. Um, and we've just had a long break in developing anybody since things with Sazantos kicked off. It's just been kind of like panic mode, and everyone's running around everywhere with their hair on fire, and there's really not much going on except for the plot.
Yeah,
you know?
we got the hero's journey for Elrica, right? As she grew into her position as the queen. But since that happened, kind of, it feels like we've been spinning our wheels learning about Sazantos, who turned out to be the bad guy. And then now we're kind of like, wait, what do we do?
Yeah. Little cliffhanger when they're like, Rinyu's missing, but we got to do some other stuff.
That's going to be real awkward when she shows up to that battle, because I'm taking her.
Yeah, I know, right? Are we going to be able... Yeah, I mean, it'll do the same thing where it's like, Richard is my main character, right? But he's just never on the screen. It's always my backup character.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be what happens, I would think. But yeah, really, really cool to be like, hey, this background character actually sort of needs to be a main character. So let's do like a little quest and you can get to know Rondo. Makes me a little sad I didn't pull on Rondo because now he's super cool and I liked his attacks and stuff.
They are dropping the ball a little bit in the like lining up cool story characters with their banners stuff.
Oh yeah, it would be cool to have had the MT after this instead of before. Although they gave it to you kind of before when it was like, oh.
Give it to us when the story chapter drops, right? So that it's running concurrently. Because in theory, it incentivizes people to play the story. Then they finish the story. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to pull on that banner, right?
I want to know more about this character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get to actually see his story and stuff, which none of us have seen because we don't have them.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, most of us don't have them.
I mean, I looked into him in going to pity for Rinyu, so.
I feel like I really liked the game does a lot to try and give you lore about like characters. I think in the most recent drop, we got 3 memoirs where it was just more character interactions. So like Lucetta and Zonta or something like that had a little thing. No, it was Santa and somebody, Waludia, somebody who does gambling. I can't remember who. But they do those like little character interactions that are kind of pithy and weird and have no bearing on the story and all that. But this was cool to play and in the background do the little point where you're like, oh, look, there's Heathcote.
Yeah.
Like Rondo and Heathcote, like they're connected, and there's this guy in my party that I've had forever that I didn't put any weight on, and now it's like, he's involved in the story, you know? A way cooler version, I think, of trying to find connections with characters and stuff if they're in the background of things, rather than make me watch a memoir where they sort of just talk at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I am disappointed every time one of the characters has their story as a memoir instead of as like 1, 2, 3, a prologue and then 1, 2, 3 chapters.
Oh, interesting.
Not just because the rewards are like kind of lamer, but I don't like I feel like frequently the memory version of them are not as good as the run around the world versions.
I don't know if I agree, but I don't know that I'm disagree strongly enough for it to matter.
Minor preference.
Yeah. We're all kind of done with most of the content that isn't the hard stuff these days. I think we've all caught up on the conviction board. We're all kind of done with the dragon, even though we got to do it more later.
I still don't have U10 on Serenoa, but I have everything else.
So
I did
Michael
4 on the dragon. How far have you guys gotten on the dragon? 4 or 5?
I didn't try
3?
very hard, so I stopped at 3.
5 or 6. I don't think I went to 6. I might have done 5, just far enough to get all the rubies.
Okay, I definitely still have 1 level of rubies left.
Oh, rubies don't go to 10?
No, it switches to awakening shards after 5.
Okay.
And then I think there were some accessories for the highest levels.
Well, we kind of all went over the announcements together today, and people can look them up if they want to. So this doesn't need to be a news podcast, but with us kind of having a few small things to do on the side, right? Like there's definite like level 100 fights I haven't finished, or like duo fights I haven't finished, and master tower fights I haven't finished, and EX tower fight, but they're all like time investment stuff. How do you feel about what's coming at this kind of like monthly pace going forward? I'm pretty happy with it because it's started to give me time now to do other things personally and feel caught up at the same time.
Yeah, I like that it's slowed down a little bit. It definitely gives me the space to put it down for a minute. And the freedom also to say, oh, there's a chapter update coming next week. I should take a little time and clean up a couple of things here and there that I want to get done before it starts, and not have to feel like I'm rushing to bang my head against a wall to get it done.
I feel like there's enough things going on that if I wanted to do something or I get the urge or whatever, I could be like, all right, you know what? This week, EX5 in this tower, or this week, we're going to try this, duo fight, or this level 100, or this, the Largo arena, really, the last one, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be
not Russian.
You can do Largo. I did Largo a couple months ago, and your account's just as good, if not better than mine, because you pulled on Triangle Strategy.
So I Triangle Strategy is not really helping us against Largo, though, right? He doesn't have those weaknesses. Anyway, whatever. The point is, like, yeah, I just have to get the motivation to say, like, I'm doing this now, and then there's stuff to do when I want to do it. But if it's also enough stuff that I can just like break off a few dailies, get run our weekly tower or whatever up to whatever point, and then call it a day. Got my quests, got my rubies, watch my ads, close it down. I'm good, and go do other stuff. So I appreciate and then be excited when I come back. Be like, oh man, I have a bunch of shards, I have a bunch of stones, I have a bunch of materials ready for the new characters that are coming and the new story chapter that's coming, which have been the exciting stuff for me.
Yeah, it's nice. This must be kind of what they felt in the JP pace for a long time, but like the first year pace in the US and global, I guess it technically is called, even though there's still other regions, has been really, really accelerated, and if you wanted to feel not crazed by it, keeping up with it was a little bit of work, but I feel much more relaxed. So COTC, Camp Champions of the Continent, pretty nice little game. It's given me a little bit of time to do some stuff, and you guys. I think Michael, since you've returned, tell us, are you still in Wonder?
I am. I got to play a little bit more Super Mario Wonder, and it continues to be something new and different, like with every level. I've made my way into, so I made it out of the first world, and there's a little hub level in between each of the traditional Mario worlds that you can run through. So I made it into the hub level and then into World 2. And the level design continues to be super varied, and it's constantly something new and interesting.
Oh boy.
What has been your favorite badge thing?
Oh yeah,
Power?
the extra
Oh, the
powers, right?
badges. Yeah.
So far, anyway.
I think I find myself running with the first badge a lot, the glide with your hat badge.
The like little parachute hat thing?
Yeah.
Really? I figured that
Yeah.
that one would be like obsolete so fast. No?
No,
Why?
I find it to be useful in a lot of situations for just like coasting over stuff.
It doesn't it change, Andy, it changes like the arc of your jump, right? So you
You
jump the
float
same
down,
up,
right?
but as long as you're holding the button. So you don't float until you hold the button. But if you're holding the button, then yeah, you kind of float downward a bit.
Yeah,
So you
but you also don't
kind
have
of you can glide a little with it, or do you sort of just fall slowly?
both. So that's what I was gonna say is that you start out retaining your forward momentum, but it's not infinite. So you do lose speed, and if there's nothing for you to land on, you're just gonna drop.
It
Um,
and the level design in multiple levels supports this, or is this one of those things where really you need to be changing your badge every time?
well, it depends. So like I've come across a couple of underwater levels now where that is a completely useless badge to take with you.
To be clear, it doesn't
I
stop
want to
you
see
though.
that though.
I don't believe it stops you though, right? Like you can just have whatever badge on you want.
No,
I
you just
mean,
leave. Yeah, whatever badge you have equipped is the badge you have equipped. It's
you,
just,
you should
whether or not it's useful.
you should be considering putting on that dolphin kick one instead, but you don't have
Uh,
to.
yeah, that's a fun one. I did the dolphin kick race level, which is a bit of a challenge, getting all three of those big coins. What else? What else has been good?
So I
Oh,
assume
the
the dolphin kick does nothing when not underwater, right? I mean, I
Totally.
don't know because I
Yeah.
haven't played. So
Yeah, completely correct.
okay.
the jumping again in midair badge is kind of cool.
So you get like a little Celeste double jump, or is it not as strong as that?
So you can run. Um, I don't remember if it works if you jump first, but you can keep running off of a platform like Wile E. Coyote style, and then jump in the air, in midair after you've left the platform.
So you get a little extra distance. What it's a double jump though, so why not jump off the edge of the platform? Wouldn't you get more distance from that?
I don't know. That's why I said I don't know, because the level that you test the badge in, it might speed you up too, so that when you're running, your momentum of running just carries you off the edge of the platform, and then you can jump. But the level is designed specifically for you to run off the platforms and then jump. Yeah, so it's been fun. I found there is if you remember Star Road from Super Mario World way back when, this game has an equivalent of that.
Oh my. uh, Overworld and all that map and all still holding up. You had liked it initially.
Yeah, I do. I like the fact that you have the freedom to run around the map as opposed to just being on the rail of the level map that some of the older Mario games put you on.
But it is essentially the same at the end of the day. I mean, right? You still
Yeah,
have to jump
yeah, it's
into the
essentially the
world.
same. You have to get to the you have to get enough of the little world seeds to unlock your way to the castle and beat the castle to clear the world.
Gotcha.
But there is a little more variation, right? In that you can, there's like hidden stuff sometimes. There's,
Yes, there
stuff
definitely
hidden
is.
behind rocks like extra coins, or, there's a pipe hit you can barely see from only a certain angle, and you go down and there's a bonus level down there. And, none of it is essential, but there are things.
Awesome.
Yeah. I will say though that some of those 4 and 5-star difficulty levels are no joke.
That's cool to hear.
Like Kaizo, no joke, or just like this is
No, just
repeatably
like
pretty hard.
dust off some of your careful platforming skills.
Okay.
From what
Nice.
I have heard on the internet, nothing in this game is to the level of anything that you would call Kaizo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, that makes sense, right? It's kid related, not kid only, but kid adjacent. I guess.
Kid friendly.
Kid friendly. That's the right word. Kid friendly. Not kid friendly, JJ. Hunting vampires.
I mean, it's not the most kid friendly.
I guess I'm wrong,
thing to
right?
do, I would
Because
say.
technically the Warriors were kids, weren't they? Or were they teens?
Teens, I would say. Aren't they seen in bars and drinking beer and stuff in that? So, like,
They definitely
young
were
adults.
drinking beer. I haven't seen the Warriors in a long time.
That's a schlocky movie.
There's got to be other cult films where kids are hunting vampires and whatever, right?
Evil Dead? I guess they're not really kids
Not
in
really
that either,
kids.
though.
No. They're definitely not kids if the Warriors aren't kids.
Yeah, definitely not. Anyway, where are we going with this? Sorry.
Where was I going?
Vampires?
Vampire. Oh yeah, that's right. Diablo. Diablo's not for kids. Diablo's
Okay,
not for
yeah.
kids. What is a hunter's acclaim board?
A thing in the town that you could go to.
Okay.
Is this a like, where do I find it? What do I do with it situation? Or is this a like, I'm trying to.
I ran into one and I assumed it was something seasonal. I have no idea.
It is correct.
I had none of the currency to do anything with it and wondered whether it was worth worrying about at all.
It is part of the seasonal stuff that you will do as you begin doing the seasonal quests, which don't kick in until you complete the campaign or skip it.
Yeah, so okay. Then Ash is also related.
Ash. The
Ashes?
smoldering ashes is related to the battle pass.
Is that a seasonal item also, or should I be saving those?
You should be using them, and
Okay.
because you can reallocate them for gold whenever you want.
Okay. Man, do we interrupt the podcast to talk about this Broncos game? I think we do. I think we have to. We got to cut in here.
It was
What in the
bonehead
world?
decision followed by I've seen
Bailed-
this story a million times followed
bailed
by
out.
what just happened.
Bailed out by the longest kicker apparently this league, huh? That was only a 36-yarder. Jeepers creepers, man. Oh, JJ, they went for 2 when they should have gone for 1 so that the game would have been tied.
No,
They missed.
going for
No,
2 is the right call. It's cool.
No.
It's cool. It's cool to win and go.
But they
for
went
it.
for 2
It's
when they were
lame.
up by 6.
Oh, no, there's
So-
no point going for 2 there.
Well, so if you go
Right.
for 2 and you get it, then a touchdown, they can't win.
I understand, but you're up 7. What if you just stop them?
Yeah,
That
well,
part makes more sense.
or get the ball back faster. So then the Broncos get the ball back, but they only have like 48 seconds. And then somehow make it to the Buffalo 18 and kick a 36-yard field goal.
Well, no, it got even better than that, Andy.
I missed the play-by-play then.
They had a 46-yard field goal lined up that they missed. And then Buffalo got called for too many men on the field.
Oh no, I missed that part.
Moved them 5 yards closer, and then they hit it as time expired for the win.
Oh my god.
Listeners, I want you to know I'm the only person on this podcast apparently paying attention to this podcast and not watching a football game in the background. I respect you and your time, and I would never waste it with the Broncos.
Whoa.
Which actually is a lie because I played Russell Wilson at my quarterback this week, and I had James Cook, so I cared about this game.
They're on Broncos are on a heater, dude. Ever since they beat the Packers.
Not a feat worth talking about. The Packers are not good.
Well, then they beat the Chiefs.
That is a feat worth talking about.
Then they beat the Bills.
And yeah, they've won 3 games.
I don't know.
4 games.
Watching Josh Dobbs now, though, I don't know if they're going to beat the Vikings next week.
The Vikings looked like the Raiders looked when they were freed from that terrible coach that no one liked.
Uh-huh.
And the Vikings now look like, oh, no one has to talk to Kirk Cousins anymore. Hey, let's have fun. And then they are doing well again.
Very cool.
Who knows? Maybe the coach is just the quarterback whisperer because Kirk Cousins also looked terrible before, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. So seasonal. Okay, back to Diablo because.
Yeah, all the stuff with the board and the vampire stuff, all that stuff will be explained when you finish the campaign and start doing the seasonal quests.
So I was in Dry Steps. I started Act 3. I finished Act 2. Man, I just don't know how there's any people left in Sanctuary. All the children are dead. Everybody's child dies in this game. So much child death. I was wandering around and a random event was a ghost of a woman looking for the ghost of her child.
Yeah.
You know what happened at the end of Act 2. We don't even need to get into that. Anyway, so I was in Act 3. I was in Dry Steps and the little blue vampire thing overtook the map area that I was in. And I wandered around looking for vampires and did not find any. Do I need to beat the story to find them, or what did I do wrong?
I mean, they're not. I guess I don't know which quest you're on and what it says specifically to do.
Oh no, I wasn't doing a vampire quest. I was on Act 3 doing quests, and that area of the map just had turned blue, and there was a vampire thing on top of the map, and it said there's vampires around, kill them.
Yeah, it's a timed thing, and it's related to the seasonal stuff. You don't need to engage with it until you're ready to do that seasonal stuff.
What should I have been, what will I have done next time when I'm done with the story stuff? Because I couldn't figure it out. There seemed to be nothing to do.
Yeah. Again, I just explained it to you. There's nothing for you to do. You haven't done anything wrong. You can't do it until you do the seasonal quest up until the point where that stuff becomes a thing you can deal with.
Very odd.
Because what happens is you for everyone else who did the campaign already, they press the button at the start of at the start when they're making their character that says skip the campaign. They then don't have the campaign to do, and they immediately start the seasonal quests, and they're into it from level 5. And so this is just now you have to wait for that stuff.
Okay, so is this a function of the game being somewhat interconnected? Because is it showing me stuff I can't do because there's other people on my map?
It is a world thing. Yeah, okay. It moves around zones. It goes to different places. And it is a thing that moves around the world. There are other events like this. Yeah. You haven't run into them yet, I'm guessing. Or you would have been asking about this, the Hell Tide also, which is a similar thing.
Right.
And it just changes zones, it moves around, and it does different stuff, based on where you are.
Okay.
And it is it's only in a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and then it leaves and goes to some other place.
Very strange to see stuff going on around you that you can't interact with.
I mean, no one's stopping you from killing the monsters, but there's not a lot of point to killing them other than just, the same things you get for killing monsters normally.
Didn't see any special monsters either. Saw nothing. That's okay. I'm not complaining.
Well, that's interesting. I guess all that stuff shows up once you have gotten to the proper points.
Must be.
Interesting.
It was very confused. I was like, oh, I wonder what this stuff looks like. You were like, a bad example would be like in WoW. It's like I'm not high enough level to do any of that content, but you could still go see it and die watching it. It's weird. I don't. It was D3 didn't have live instances. You were in your own world, right? There weren't people running around in my towns like there are in this.
I mean, this is a open world, thing, right?
Multiplayer thing, right?
Yeah,
There's no option on that.
So this was not something that could have done before because they would join your game, and the progress would be based on the level that you were at or whatever the host was at. But that's not a thing anymore. There's just the world now.
Yeah. And since last week we were talking about the leveling thing, now I had the thought when I was thinking about all this, is that why they've done the leveling the way they've done it, in order to lower the burden on certain areas of the map?
It could be, I guess. Certainly having these sorts of special things that, move around from zone to zone and are, in certain places and certain things helps give them a reason to spread people out in the world, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But from my experience with it, which again is hard to say, it also doesn't go to every zone on the map either. So it's not like they're fully moving you anywhere they want, right? It's just a matter of they picked a few different ones and it goes to these.
Okay.
Or maybe those are the only ones it's ever at when I'm playing. Maybe during the middle of the day when I'm at work, it's somewhere else. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, yeah. I like the parts I've interacted with of that game enough to keep going. It's good. I think it's good in a less addictive way. I don't think about playing it immediately like it did earlier Diablos. I just feel like, I want to go on and play the story more. And since the OTC has taken a pause in terms of slowdown, it's nice to have the time to do both. Because it's not a speedy game. You got to run a lot. A lot of dungeons.
Yeah, it'll help once you get the horse, but I guess you don't have the horse yet.
I think I get the horse soonish, because it's the story break, I think, after Act 3, and then they give you a horse. Breaking news. I don't know. Steam had a big week. There's a Switch, not a Switch, a Steam Deck, OLED Steam Deck listed, but I don't think that's the listing that you care about the most, right?
Not quite. JJ, I think you have already seen, but something that has been long anticipated, at least by me, most likely by you as well, finally put up a listing page on Steam last week.
Yes.
How do you feel about finally playing some Horizon Forbidden West?
I do feel about that. I would like to, if they would like to take my money. Not that it's going to matter, because it's not like I have time now with the number of things that are out. But yeah, I want to play that game.
Sure, but the last hurdle, the last external hurdle standing in your way, is starting to tip.
Yes, they're putting out the games.
Yep. So all we have to go on right now, Andy, is early 2024.
Early 2024.
Yes.
Was it on Epic, or is it just going straight wide this time?
I don't think it was released. I think they put it up on Steam and Epic at the same time when it went up last week.
Yeah, there's to my knowledge, which could be flawed. I'm not an expert on the Epic store, but I don't know that there's a coming soon store page thing there.
Good.
On Epic?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any games that do that there.
I think I saw a tag for Forbidden West, which is originally what made me jump over to Steam to see if it was there.
Steam typically has solved these problems by the store pages going up very early, and then when I see or someone posts that this happened, I just click the add to wish list button. And then
Exactly.
later, when it comes out, I get a notification in the app, and it's like, "Hey, man, this game is out now." And I'd be like, "Oh, great!" And then I can put it into my "buy this sooner" section, and then I do that.
Yes. Ooh, although oh, no, they just got it labeled weird. So that yes, there is a coming soon page for it on Epic. Although they have it labeled as just the base game, even though the description says it's the complete edition with the, story expansion. So, yeah, don't hold your breath, but it's coming.
It'll
Very
be
excited.
cool when they. I think there's two fun stories to think about here. One, Epic really was trying to push for Sony games to hit there first, and it ain't happening anymore, which is fun, given their oopsies in court that they've had to admit to. And the other is, it's interesting to me that Sony, challenged with now Microsoft owning a lot of stuff, isn't pushing harder to get these games out so wider.
Yeah, I mean, I who knows what Sony's situation is and how they plan, where they allocate the money for these ports or whatever. Because I think it's also fair to say that that first Horizon game, when it came out on PC, had issues,
Oh, did. Mm.
and they fixed them. And it's, by all accounts, it is quite good now. And God of War, when it came out on PC, did not have those issues. It had different ones, and those also were fixed. So maybe this is like learning, you know.
Sure, yeah.
Spider-Man, by all accounts, is quite good on PC, both of those games. So, I think there's they're getting there, I guess, is what I want to say. But also these are different studios, so who knows? Maybe it's just different people.
Very cool. How many you had? Let's see. How many consoles have you owned in overtime? Probably
Uh,
6, 7. I'm trying to do my own count real quick because I didn't think about this intro part of this question, and I don't know why it matters actually. But I was
I
trying
mean,
to
at
think.
least I can count 7 that aren't handheld,
Oh,
depending on
including
how you want to
handhelds
count
is
it.
fine. Including
Okay,
handhelds
well,
is
if you
good.
include handhelds, it's more than 7.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so we've got a lot. We've got a big pool to think about here for the retro question. I'm gonna throw the retro question out here because this is the. I was looking at and cleaning up 2 of my Game Boys this week, and I remembered the fun resistance that is in the Game Boy Switch, the turn-on switch, especially for the Game Boy Color. It has a nice little feeling under your finger, like a thunk when you hit the on, right? What
Yeah, it's got a
console
little
have you guys owned that you think had the most enjoyable on Switch? Because nowadays we don't get that anymore. I pick up the controller for the PlayStation 5 and I press the PlayStation button and the whole thing turns on. I pick up the Switch and the screen automatically turns on and I hit the A button 3 times to unlock it. Or it has a really difficult power switch that's somewhat recessed to press in the top of it. It's actually not that enjoyable to use. Modern consoles on switches aren't really switches as much as they are recessed buttons that you have to kind of finagle because they don't want you to actually hit them. But the good old Switch from back in the day, I would posit I liked 2 of them quite a lot. And one was the Game Boy, which had that nice little thunk as it flipped over into the on position. But the one that I can picture in my head that was just so like beautiful in shape and size and design was actually the 2600, the Atari, because it was that silver peg,
cool.
right?
Mm. You're like a
Yep.
toggle. That's like a toggle switch, though,
was
right? It's like a big.
yeah,
Yeah.
big switchy peg, right? Like stuck up, and it had it on and off printed next to it, and it was a different color than all the other toggles. It was red, and it was metal. It was fun. Like the on switch was fun. Back in the retro question. So that's my question, you guys. Do you have a favorite on switch? Not on switch, this is a power switch.
I think for me, so I'll answer in two pieces actually. So I think for me, it's a toss up between the on switch for the N64, which I think I have the like strongest memory of, just like toggling that little switch forward.
That like T-shaped slider.
Yeah. Between that and the switch on the Super Nintendo, which is so well
The
integrated into the design, the little purple bar.
purple bar, yeah. I thought about the Super Nintendo. It's funny because I have had multiple Super Nintendos, and some of those that slider was very stiff and felt really good to slide into place, and it kind of like didn't click, but it like definitely like thunked into place. And some of them it was very loose, and it kind of like wobbled back and forth as you pushed it up there, and you were kind of like, "Is it on? I think it's on," you know.
Yeah, but I think for me, in terms of like something that calls up a memory, even more than the power switches, is the eject bar on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that too, like who has the coolest buttons.
I was actually going to say when you were talking about like buttons with a good feel, my original PS1 and the disc
opening button where it just
Yeah,
flipped
because
the whole top up.
because that thing had a mechanical release and that lid was spring. And so you would press that button down and you would hear the click and then the thing would flip up, and the disc is still slowing its spin down or whatever as you do it. And that was always my favorite button, I think.
There was a spring under that button.
It's also a big circular round thing. Yeah. The original PS1, the big one.
I think it's fair to answer with any button on the console, because nowadays I've got a flashlight on because you can't even see. There are two buttons on the front of the PS5. There's a power button and an eject button for the disk drive, because I have a disk drive PS5. But they're designed to be an emergency button, right? They're not designed to be noticeable or used, basically. They're there because they physically have to be there. Otherwise they wouldn't be. I don't think design-wise, right? They kind of just don't want to be. And it's kind of like a shame that they're not a cool, springy, giant eject button. So, yeah, it's like dissatisfying to press a PS5 power button.
I mean, like the Switch doesn't even have an eject button for its cartridges, right? You just have to press and pull the cartridges pop out. So there's not even a button, right? So
yeah, it has that little rubber gasket stopper that goes on top of it. You kind of like work it on and off with your fingernail. Also not that satisfying.
Remember CDs, kids? Yeah, that was depending on what you want to, like the chaotic neutral or the chaotic evil version of a button, right? The putting the cart into the NES and pushing it down. That's not a button, but it felt kind of good if you got a good one that had like nice action as you put it down.
Yep, make sure it's seated properly.
Yeah, but that was always a fun one. Not a button technically per se, but always a fun action to have.
That I can still feel in my fingers certain switches resistances, and it's a weird feeling to know. I don't think anybody, like there's no resistance to an iPad screen.
See, this is why mechanical keyboards are good.
Yeah, super tactile and springy. Good point. Retro technologies is a big theme of something I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I think you both have read Philip Pullman's his Dark Materials series.
Absolutely.
And did either of you watch the HBO series?
Yep.
I know JJ has. I have not. It is on my
Oh,
list.
okay. I won't get too deep into it, but I finished the first book because I've decided to do some audio booking, and when we get to the end of the year, there'll be a reason to talk about audiobooks again. Um,
I mean, if
so
you're just talking about the book, like Michael has read the books, I'm very
Oh,
confident.
see a dozen times.
yeah, but then I watched I started to watch the first season of the show, JJ,
Uh huh.
and at the outset of the show lays out some things that I didn't know. I know that we're not going to spoil much for Michael since he's read the books, but the show starts off with a title screen that just continues to go and lays out a bunch of stuff, and I didn't know how I felt about it, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on. Michael, they opened the show. It's not a spoiler because it happens immediately with stuff that was, and again, I've only read the first book, so stuff that was intimated by the books but never really discussed. It's for you to decide. They're like, hey,
I think I saw the first half of the first episode. Don't they talk about like Grumman's expedition?
they also go, they literally with words start the show with, hey, this is in another world. There are other worlds. And also there are demons in this one, and they're your soul. And it's like, whoa,
Ah,
whoa,
yes.
whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down.
You know, it is a narrative choice in the show to do that, because otherwise you have to write cringeworthy dialogue of two characters talking about stuff that they both obviously already know, that makes no sense why they would ever explain, right?
But the book didn't do that. That's my problem. I
The
have
book had
no.
like 10 chapters to get to the point where any of that matters, right?
Yeah,
And
well,
you can
And
you
you
can
get the
put in things in
priority
the
of their
book that
thoughts,
are
right?
you can put in a side text in the book, right? Like interstitial text between conversation that you can't just do in a TV show without doing exactly what you're talking about.
maybe. I think there's a lot of reason to put stuff at the front, especially in like fantasy series, right? Like, okay, we got to skip a lot of stuff here. So here's some background on the world. And I think some background on the world, probably for his mark. Again, I've only read the first one, but his Dark Materials is probably not a bad thing. But the idea that someone shouldn't watch the first season and then at the end of it be like, hey, are demons their souls for themselves instead of being told that? I don't think the book in the first book ever tells you that. It's just something you read the book and you're like, I think maybe they're talking about souls here. So
I
to
guess,
me,
Michael, we can't answer this question for him now because he needs to
No,
read
because
more books.
it's gonna
Yeah.
spoil something in the second book. If we could answer this for you, Andy, but it's gonna spoil. Like there's a
oh,
specific conversation that I'm thinking of in the
I
second
don't
book that will.
I don't necessarily need it answered because they put it in the text at the beginning of the show. It took away all the like self exploration, right, of what those books were doing. It seemed like a very different tone. And so I was going to ask, I guess, JJ, since you've done both, is the tone that different throughout? Or does it. Because I've made it through the first couple episodes, and they just sort of like in the middle of Lyra being with Mrs. Coulter, they drop on her like, oh yeah, and Azrael's your dad, like way at the beginning of the story instead of way at the end.
The show is not doing. The show is trying to do the books, but understanding that the show then has more things and is intending to tell the story of all of the books, it is a tougher thing to set up where the books go if you are limiting yourself to only doing the stuff in the first book. I don't know I don't know
Okay.
what else I can say without
So
spoiling too much
so
more.
later books interact with earlier books, unfortunately for myself.
Yeah. And especially, knowing where it goes, they kind of, if they want to get all the way there, they sort of can't ignore a bunch of stuff If they don't sprinkle some stuff in, you're gonna get really mad when you get to the end.
Yeah.
I sincerely liked that they decided to integrate the gypsy family stories much earlier. It wasn't just like they're here at the end or in the middle because the story has affected them, but we didn't tell you anything about John Fa until you needed to know it.
Yeah, the show makes some good choices. I think you can talk about it when you get farther in the show, but I don't think it did things maliciously to ruin your enjoyment of the books. And I think they're doing different stuff. The books have a longer runway to do all the things that they're doing, because you can do more stuff in text than you can on a TV show, right? And therefore they use that text to, have a different trajectory for the story they're telling. Whereas because the show has, they know they're only going to get X seasons, they know they're only going to get X episodes per season, they kind of need to get stuff moving in certain directions. Otherwise, they're going to get to the end and everyone is going to hate the show.
Is it over? Is it just the 3 seasons, or is it going to be more?
I guess I don't know that you can never say never, but they have told the story of these 3 books.
I see. Okay, got it. I wonder if I should just finish the books instead of watching the show then, before going further.
I think the crossover gets worse in the 2nd season.
Okay. All right, we'll put a pin in that for later.
These books are not long books, also, to be clear. So
no,
it certainly could be possible for you to finish listening to them and then come around to watch it, without a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, we're already on TV, and you have hot off the press viewage, not TV necessarily.
Yeah, I have attended a theater and seen a movie.
Oof. Watch out.
I know this is, timely things, but we went to see The Marvels this past weekend.
Okay, you're the second person that I've heard say that they went to see The Marvels. More people than the last couple movies that I know of, but apparently not as many people.
Unlike the box office receipts, apparently, where it has done the worst of any MCU movie ever.
But by a wide margin, the worst MCU debut, and yet a lot of people I know went to see it. So I don't know how that worked out.
So, I mean, here's what I will say about the movie. I had a good time. We saw it. I enjoyed my time. Is it the best Marvel movie they've ever made? No, it is far and away better than some of the worst ones. So I went for a superhero romp. Fun was had. A story was told. Dangly bits are left for an overarching plot. There you go. Marvel movie.
Okay. So JJ,
but yeah,
I'll ask, did you see, before going in, had you seen all 3 of the origin stories, let's say, that lead up to this one?
The predecessor films and shows.
You said 3. I have seen Captain Marvel, I have seen Ms. Marvel, and I have seen WandaVision.
Okay. So I'm guessing that you say 3 because there's more.
Were there more?
Go see the movie.
I assume it's also Secret Invasion that is involved.
No. Although maybe not. No, I don't know. I've also seen Secret Invasion, so that wouldn't have mattered. I didn't catch any direct references to that. Maybe there was like an oblique one. I don't know. None of it really felt that bad. But I think if you hadn't seen Ms. Marvel and WandaVision, I wonder how anyone would get this movie. Because they kind of just drop Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau just in. And yes, Monica Rambeau has a history with Captain Marvel, and she was in that other movie, so there's not 0 there for her. But they really kind of are just here's Ms. Marvel, she has powers, Jersey, and then here's Monica, and she has powers. How did that happen? We'll explain it later. And you do eventually get their 2 stories, but very brief and surface level, and in a throwaway sentence. And it's if you hadn't seen those shows, would you even want to?
What's the investment? What's my emotional investment here?
They give you none.
I think the Miss Marvel step is a big problem for them because it got dogged by people for no real reason. I mean, the The story in it kind of sucks, to be honest.
The show was pretty fun overall, I think.
That's the weird dichotomy about it, because I watched it and I thought, okay, that was fine. But like, if you break down any single part of it, it's like, well, that kind of sucks. But you know what I mean? But like overall, it was palatable.
I think if you approach it with the mindset of this is pitched for like teens, then it makes a lot more sense.
Sure.
So, I don't know how to square those corners, but I had seen all those movies and I had a good time watching this. We laughed. There were funny parts. There were tense parts. Superhero stuff happened. Fun was had for the price of admission.
So it didn't deserve
certainly
what
the theater
happened.
wasn't full. I don't know, what does deserve mean? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it's got
I liked
out to
this.
dry, man.
More people saw Thor 2, and that is sad because Thor 2 is a terrible movie.
The Dark World.
More people saw Iron Man 3, and Iron Man 3 is not very good compared to this, right? So
which one's Iron Man 3?
The one with the little
boy
kid.
in the snow.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was a rough one.
The worst of the 3 Iron Man movies, right? I'm sure people can cancel me for my hot takes on which Marvel movies are bad. Although probably everyone agrees with Thor, right?
I mean, I think at this point there's literally so many, it kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I liked this better than that most recent Ant-Man movie. I think that I had more fun. So, I think that it is a shame that people aren't giving this the time of day. Because it's better than other stuff that they put out recently.
I watched that Quantumania movie actually in the last week, now that you mention it. 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
Man, some of the CG in that movie is terrible.
I mean, it's the whole movie's CG, and really the story at a certain point just devolves into like, why are you a scary person? Why is Kang at all threatening? It's like there's no.
Don't expect any of that to be answered.
I don't know. They've just gotten to the point that like they can throw literally everything at any Marvel hero, and they're just gonna win. So it doesn't. What spectacle are you creating, and why? Why am I afraid of anyone when the bad guy loses every single time? Who cares?
Anyway, people should go see that Marvels movie. It was fun. It was great, and Ms. Marvel is great in it, and Brie Larson and the actress for Monica Rambeau, who I don't know off the top of my head, are both good. People should see the movie. There you go. That's my take.
Maybe I just think they did Kang a little bit too soft on that one. All right. Well, in the meantime, if people have a favorite retro button or switch, anything springy or with resistance, anything that made a clicking noise, you turned something on or off with it.
I can send that in a letter to us at
postmark it.
Podcast at weweregavers.com. That's our email. That would be really great.
We accept handwritten or typewriter.
Yeah, you know what? If you send us a typewritten email, somehow you will get notified. That's above and beyond.
I usually like paraphrase the emails, or I break them down and put them all together or whatever. If you typewriter a letter, not print out Courier New. Typewriter. If I could see the impact marks, I will read it word for word. Good luck finding where to send it.
But also, we have a YouTube, and you can go there and talk about typewriters in the comments to our videos, which are on youtube.com/@weweregamers. And we'd be really interested to hear your thoughts about typewriters in the comments.
I don't know typewriters very well, so please educate us.
That's what I mean. I want to hear the comments.
I'm sure there were good ones and bad ones. Ribbon types and non-ribbon types. Automatic return
buttons, that carriage return.
Yeah, are you a fan of automatic return or not automatic return?
the most dangerous button in some instances, right?
Mhm.
Literally injure yourself by pressing it.
I was in a house at some point in my life that had an Atari 2600 and a typewriter, and they both worked at the same time.
Do kids these days even know that an enter is called a carriage return? And do they know why you call it that?
Probably not.
Dang. Dang.
Purposeful pause afterwards because that's the end of the episode. I'm letting
Yeah, I
it
was
roll.
gonna
I'm
say, we
letting it
can't-
roll
we can't-
out on that
Yeah,
dang.
Yeah, I just shower thoughted that one into existence.
Now I have to put this after the episode ends. I just shower thoughted that one. It was
And we
almost
have a
like
title.
yeah.